Hello everybody, welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfiction written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Just a quick note that all my fanfictions do not infringe on the original continuity and no copyright was intended. So let's dive in with today's story, Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce. In Universe 35, the Super Megaforce team failed to win against the Armada, and the Armada beat them, leaving the world 50 years in the future, decimated by the Armada, ripped apart into 32 districts, and ruled by an iron fist. Our two heroes, Ozzy and Albert, must go around collecting the lost Ranger keys and beating the generals, saving the 32 districts if they want to save the world. So let's dive in with Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce, Chapter 3, The Blue Turbo Ranger Key, Part 1. In District 24, several cars lined up and the startup light had started to glow. "Racers, get yourselves ready! The race starts in 1 minute," the announcer's voice called out. Dust sat in his blue 4x4 truck and took in a deep breath. He then pressed the button and his engine roared to life. He sat ready, gripped the steering wheel tight, and looked up at the start-off signal. "All right, racers, get ready. On your marks. Get set. Go," the announcer voice yelled. Dust saw the start-off light glow green, and then he stepped on the gas. His truck bolted off. His truck flew past several of the racers. He drifted around a corner, then another, his tail end smacking into the front of a racer, which knocked the car off course, making the small car crash into a wall. Couple minutes went by and Dust was on the last lap. He was in second place, with one car in front of him. Then Dust pressed a button, and a keyhole appeared next to his gear stick. He then pulled out the blue Turbo Ranger key, flipped it open, and slotted the key into the keyhole. With a breath, he turned the key, and a surge of blue energy fueled the vehicle. The blue 4x4 truck exploded with speed and raced past the first driver, overtaking to first place. In a matter of seconds, he flew through the finish line. Dust swerved his truck to a halt. Then he hopped out and threw his hands in the air in cheer, and the crowd screamed and applauded. And our winner is Dust! With 7 wins under his belt now, he only needs one more to face our leader, Dark Drifter, the announcer yelled.
Hey there, podcast listener. You enjoying what you're listening to? Well then, do I got a special treat for you. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637. That's me. I'm your host, and I like to tell you stories. Stories that I personally enjoy. So, buckle up, get comfortable, because we're going on a wild ride.
It had been a week since Albert and Ozzy took down Redcar and District 21 fought for its freedom. Ozzy had recovered nicely from his injuries, and Albert had started training Ozzy with the help of Jason. Ozzy and Albert stood around the computer screen. Okay, so as we discussed, we're going to start tackling the smaller districts first. Start taking down the smaller generals, start collecting you some more ranger keys, and hopefully we'll get you strong enough to tackle some of the bigger places, Albert said. Agreed. So, where to first? Ozzy asked. Albert pointed to the screen as the map zoomed in. This is District 24. It's one of the smallest districts. It's an entertainment ring, mostly. And it's to do with car racing, Albert explained. Car racing? Like on the TV? Ozzy asked. Exactly. What you actually watch would have been recorded races. They record the races and send them to the big cities, and then they broadcast them to the merit rooms in the other districts, Albert told him. Merit rooms were rooms where people would go to watch TV, eat sugary foods and drink nice drinks if they earned it from doing their jobs. The more you do, the longer you have in the rooms. Ozzy had only went to the merit room once. The general is a car monster called Dark Drifter, named after a legendary monster called Dark Drifter. He thinks he's the fastest racer there is, and whoever wins 8 races gets to race him. He has only been beaten a couple times, Albert said. Okay, sounds like we have a plan to go beat this general, Ozzy grinned.
Hold up. When you met the Morphing Master, several areas around the world started giving off morphing grid energy, including District 24. If we are correct, then there's a Ranger key there.
Jason piped up. Okay, I completely forgot about that. Sounds like a good plan. Let's go, Ozzy said. Albert pulled out a small device and aimed it. This will get us close or in the district. I don't exactly know where the portal gateway is located here, so be on your toes, please, Albert commanded. Ozzy nodded, then Albert pulled the trigger. The portal opened and Jason phased away as the two boys walked through the portal. Ozzy and Albert appeared in a rather small town. All the houses were dark grey, one-levelled bungalows, and they had no windows. The ground was sandy, and the temperature was hot, the air was humid. Humans and monsters lived together in this district as they all came together to watch the races. Damn, it's hot in here, Ozzy whined. Don't worry, it gets cooler at night time, Albert stated. So, what are we looking for? Ozzy asked.
We need to find out when the general will make an appearance. Best bet is to talk to the racers,
Jason said in their minds. He's kind of got a point there, Albert whispered. Ozzy spotted a human male cleaning a blue 4x4 truck. He wore blue mechanic clothes, he had short brown hair and was covered in oil smudges. Hey, what about that guy? Ozzy asked, pointing at the man. Okay, yeah, why not? Albert sighed. The duo walked up to the mechanic. Jason appeared, but only Albert and Ozzy could see him. Excuse me, can we ask you something? Ozzy asked him. The guy looked at the two boys, frowned, and then carried on cleaning the windows of the truck. What do you want? The man asked bluntly. We were hoping you could tell us about the races, Ozzy stated. You're clearly not from around here, are you? The man commented. That would be correct, Ozzy replied. Fine, the village is sandwiched between a car graveyard and the racetrack. You build yourself a vehicle, then you enter and win 8 races. If you do that, you race Dark Drifter. You beat him, you get your ticket out of here, the man explained. And you're in the races? Ozzy asked. Yeah, second time in. I'm 7 out of 8 right now, the man explained. Second time in? Albert questioned with a raised eyebrow. I failed the first time. I spent several weeks in the mechanical hut, the man sighed. He picked up the bucket of water and took it into the bungalow. He then came out a minute later. Anything else I can help you with, lads? The man asked. What can you tell us about Dark Drifter? Albert asked as he looked left and right and back at the man. He's a ruthless racer and kind of a jackass, the man replied. I have a question. What are you racing for? Ozzy asked abruptly. My sister was taken when I was a kid. She went to one of the city districts. I'm gonna go find her when I get out of here, so we can be a family again. The only thing we've got is each other, the man said. That's a good reason to race. Well, we're watching, so I'm rooting for you, Ozzy said, then he held out his hand. I'm Ozzy, and the grumpy one's Albert, Ozzy said. Dust, the man said, then he shook Ozzy's hand. Well, Dust, thanks for your time, Albert said, then dragged Ozzy away and left Dust to continue cleaning his truck. Ozzy and Albert found somewhere quiet to sit and chat. What the hell was that about? Albert barked. What? I didn't do anything, Ozzy replied. You didn't get friendly with people, did I? You're literally doing the opposite of what I said, Albert sighed.
He has a point, you know. You wasted time. We could have scattered out the track by now. Instead, you're getting all chatty with the locals, Jason
said. But sometimes there's a small useful piece of information when you chatter, Ozzy said.
Please, enlighten me,
Jason mocked. Well, first off, you said talk to one of the racers, and turns out Dust is a racer. Secondly, Dust said that this is 8th race, which means if he wins, he races Dark Drifter. Now, I have not figured out the key part to this district yet, but Dark Drifter doesn't want to send people away, surely, right? The more fear he has, the better he is. So is he gonna watch Dust driving? Ozzy questioned as he explained with a cocky grin.
Which means he will be somewhere close. Damn it, you actually impressed me,
Jason sighed. Bingo, Ozzy said and pointed at Jason, then winked. Several hours went by and the sun set. Ozzy and Albert found themselves sat on the stands within the crowd and could see several races waiting at the startup line. Dust was among them. Jason appeared next Albert. Keep a lookout, and when and if we spot Dark Drifter, then we'll judge by that. Then, when we have our window, I guess we do what we do, Albert told his ghost companion.
Good, solid plan. Let's hope the new kid knows what he's doing,
Jason muttered. You know I can hear you, right? Ozzy said. The announcer voice echoed through the audience, and he counted down from 3. Then the green light lit up, signalling the race. To start, Albert, Ozzy and Jason watched as the drivers all went around the track. The track was a massive oval shape. The racers flew around 2 times, and on the third lot, the duo watched Dust overtake third place to second, becoming second place himself. Wow, Dust is kind of good, Ozzy replied. Yeah, he is, Albert agreed. Then, all of a sudden, Dust's truck surged with blue energy. Then, as the energy died down, blue flame burst from his exhaust, and Dust sped up his truck in triple amount. He then easily overtook first place. The car tried to ram into Dust, but it hit the truck and bounced off of it, kind of like an invisible force field. The car halted and started swerving left and right, and the truck just carried on going. The car then behind him ended up crashing into the wall. Dust swerved over the finish line. And our winner is Dust with 8 out of 8 wins. That means tomorrow our champion racer races our leader himself, the announcer called out. You saw that, right? Ozzy asked. Yeah. What the hell did he do? Albert replied.
Guys, the blue surge was similar to morphing grid energy,
Jason stated. We better check this out, Albert said.
Agreed,
Jason stated. Ozzy and Albert waited for a few hours before heading back to go to see Dust. They walked up to Dust's bungalow, where they found the 4x4 truck covered by sand cover. They approached the bungalow door when suddenly Dust burst out with his hands tied and being dragged by several X-Borgs. What the hell? Ozzy gasped. You're gonna want to help, aren't you? Albert sighed. Damn straight, Ozzy snapped. He pulled out his morpher and flipped it open, then revealed his ranger key. Lend your ranger key, Ozzy called out. Then flipped it open, and then he slotted the key and turned it. Time to be magnificent, Ozzy called out. Then the phone screen flickered and revealed the pirate logo, and in a flash of light, Ozzy stood there as the red Super Megaforce Ranger. Super Megaforce, Red Ranger, the Red Ranger called out as he dropped his fighting stance. Albert sighed, rolled his eyes, and revealed his ring, and a weapon-grade circle appeared around him. He then pulled out the green crossbow, then the circle vanished. Cyber crossbow, Albert called out. The Red Ranger ran at the X-Borgs. They both dropped Dust and went for the Red Ranger. He punched one in the chest and blocked an attack from the other. He then grabbed it by the wrist and swung it around, letting go, forcing it to stumble back. Albert took aim and pulled the trigger, shooting the stumbling X-Borg. Then the Red Ranger punched the second X-Borg, then again in the chest. He then jumped and kneed the X-Borgs in the head. He then grabbed hold of the X-Borg's chest and kneed him in the stomach. Then he dropped down to the floor and Albert shot the X-Borg in the chest, the shot flying over the Red Ranger's head. The last X-Borg aimed his blaster, but before it could pull the trigger, the Red Ranger summoned his Super Mega Blaster, and both Red Ranger and Albert shot the X-Borg. The personality-less robot fell to the floor, the Red Ranger powered down, and Albert and Ozzy ran up to Dust. Albert threw his crossbow, making it disappear. Dust was untied and was able to catch his breath. Why did the X-Borg arrest you? Albert asked. Dart just thinks I cheated, Dust grunted as he climbed to his feet. Did you? Albert asked bluntly. Yeah, kinda, Dust muttered, as he put his hands in his chest pocket and revealed the blue Turbo Ranger key.
Looks like we found our ranger key,
Jason muttered, as he stood there looking at the shocked faces of Albert and Ozzy. You have a ranger key? Ozzy blurted. And what, you're a Power Ranger? Dust stated. Ozzy turned to Jason. And you didn't want me talking to the locals, Ozzy whispered. There you have it, guys. Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce, Chapter 3, The Blue Turbo Ranger Key, Part 1. Now, Part 2 will come in the new year. I just want to thank you all very much for the views and the love and support I've had with all my Power Ranger stories, especially this one, because this one is completely out of the stakes when it comes to Power Rangers. I just want to quickly shout out and thank the voice actor for Jason Lee Scott, or the ghost of Jason Lee Scott, aka Willie, Cosplay Dude 637, on TikTok. He is my power battalion, my brother from another mother, and you can find him and his stories and his storytelling on Spotify and all the places you can listen to podcasts at Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, where he's doing X-Men, Shadowhunters, Sword Art Online, and his original story called The Order, and Power Rangers Universe 19 with Ultra Rangers, Power Rangers Cyberforce, Kamen Rider, Drive, Kamen Rider, Wizard, and the newest edition, Power Rangers Skyforce. If you guys check him out, let him know that I sent you. Then, of course, check out another dear friend of ours, which, of course, is Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, with his podcast, Naruto Comics, and all places you need to podcast. Quick shout out to the Zero to Hero Network and Zero to Hero podcast. Make sure you go check them out as well. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comments down below what Pacific Rangers you want to see appear in Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce, and I'll see what I can do with them. And of course, I shall see you guys very, very soon.